This is Shinra vs Burns Round 1, a casual spar mind you. This is Shinra vs Burns Round 2, a bit more serious, but definitely not a fight to the death. And this is Shinra vs Burns Round 3, an actually serious fight with serious consequences. One of those things is not like the others, is it? It's like that three-headed dragon meme. Round 3 isn't quite as good looking as the other two. Now, you might say that I'm being biased, that I could have picked better looking scenes to represent Round 3, aka Season 3. And while that's true, what you can't say is that I could have picked weaker looking sequences to represent Rounds 1 and 2 from Season 1, since they don't exist. The first two rounds, especially Round 2, looked fantastic from start to finish, and so did the season they belonged to and the one that followed. And that's the point. Fire Force Season 3 looks immensely underwhelming when compared to its previous installments. Those Shinra Burns fights are just examples that highlight this difference in quality. As a whole, Fire Force Season 3 lacks the visual punch the previous seasons packed, it lacks the ambition, and it most definitely lacks the execution of the same. Of course, it looks good in a vacuum, and it is a significant step up from your typical seasonal anime, but compared to itself from the past, it's, let's just say, disappointing. Let's not tiptoe around it, Season 3 is a visual downgrade, a noticeable one at that, but why? Why did the show see a dip in quality? What changed between Seasons 1 and 2 and Season 3? And is there any hope for the upcoming episodes and core? Well, let's talk about all that and more. Let's talk about Fire Force Season 3. Make sure to subscribe. Like, seriously, subscribe. Let's start with the reason behind the show's deteriorating quality, because let's be honest, that's what you guys clicked for. To get an idea why Fire Force Season 3 looks weaker compared to its predecessors, we need to ask ourselves a simple question: what makes an anime look good? The answer? There are a lot of variables, but broadly speaking, it's the availability of time and talent. Fire Force Seasons 1 and 2 unsurprisingly had a lot of both. They featured a long list of incredible names and a healthy buffer between the production and the air date. And because of those reasons, it looked phenomenal. I have covered the first two seasons in detail before, so I won't get into it here, but long story short, they were some of the best looking modern action seasons out there. I feel like a lot of people don't quite understand or appreciate just how good Seasons 1 and 2 looked. Perhaps due to the fact that they aired before shows like Attack on Titan Season 4, Jujutsu Kaisen and more brought sakuga awareness into the mainstream. It's a shame because early Fire Force was insanely good looking because again it featured both time and talent. Season 3 on the other hand features neither for the most part. Let's talk about the talent aspect first. Now on paper it might sound like Season 3 has the same staff as Seasons 1 and 2, and broadly speaking it does, kinda. Director Tatsuma Minamikawa is the same as Season 2. Character designer Hideyuki Morioka is the same as the previous two seasons. The color and photography team are more or less the same. It's the same squad. The difference lies in the list of animators, you know, the people who actually draw the stuff you see on screen. The previous Fire Force seasons featured a production model with the same few names would show up multiple times and animate most of the highlights. This was especially true for Season 1, and none of those people have shown up on Season 3 yet. Let's go through a few major names and discuss why. Animator Kazuhiro Miwa was the backbone of Fire Force's action animation. He was the main source of raw, kinetic action scenes, the highlight guy among highlight guys if you will. To put his work in perspective, look at this incredible action scene. Now look at this one, and this one, and this one, and this one for good measure. Yes, all of those scenes were animated by Miwa, but that's not all. Every single one of those scenes were from the very first episode. Miwa worked on 23 more, and it's not like he was animating basic stuff either. He was usually responsible for the highlights. Absolute madman. Naturally, Miwa was an indispensable part of Fire Force. He basically shaped the action aspect of the show, and as you might have guessed, he hasn't shown up on Season 3 yet, which is a f***ing tragedy. The same can be said for the two main animators Riki Matsura and Hiroyuki Okaji, and other major names like Yuki Yamashita, Yuki Sato, Mamoru Kurosawa, Yasuto Hirohara, and more. None of them have shown up yet. Why is that? Well, it's a nuanced topic because there's no one big reason. It depends on the animator in question. Miwa, for example, tends to work on a lot of stuff. Ever since Fire Force Season 2 wrapped up, he has worked on Demon Slayer, Skate the Infinity, Death and Deities, Fate Grand Order Solomon, Tact of Destiny, Tokyo 24th War, Akebi's Sailor Uniform, Bubble, Made in Abyss, Futopi, Mob Psycho Season 3, the second SAO progressive movie, more Demon Slayer, Free Ren, Undead Unluck did a lot of work for it, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, the Spy Family movie, Metallic Rouge. My Hero Academia Season 7, even more Demon Slayer, The Elusive Samurai, Yaiba, and Moonrise. You probably got the point about halfway through, but I just wanted to read that list out loud. Basically, he was working on a lot of stuff post Season 2, and if I had to guess why he hasn't shown up on Season 3 in particular, I'd say it's because he's busy working on the upcoming Demon Slayer movies and the Undead Unluck OVA, set to air next year, and a bunch of other stuff. Probably the man's everywhere. Main animator Riki Matsura, on the other hand, is pretty much a core member of the Keisuke Seishimo line at Studio Mappa now. That's the line that produces Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man. He did a lot of work for Chainsaw Man in particular, and currently he is probably too busy with the upcoming CSM movie to work on Fire Force. He's the devil designer for that movie, and you could see some of his high-level action animation in the trailer. Those are his effects, that's him. Main animator Hiroyuki Okaji did a lot of work for Undead Unluck, and I mean a lot of work. And currently he is probably busy with the upcoming special. Yuki Sato is now a major component of Bleach DYBW, you get the idea. Basically, the anime industry is a cutthroat one. Shows are always scrambling to hire from a limited pool of high-level talent, and there's not enough names to go around, clearly. You need certain stars to align to assemble a team like the one behind Fire Force Season 1, and unfortunately, those stars just didn't align this time around. The OGs aren't there anymore, and the team couldn't find anyone to replace their output. There are a few incredible artists involved with Season 3 who deserve to be highlighted, and I will talk about them in a bit, but the point is, the net quantity of incredible animation created by the main animators alone hasn't been matched by anyone from the Season 3 team. Of course, talent moving on to other projects is not the only reason behind them not returning for Season 3. There are more quantitative factors at play. For example, both Season 1 director Yuki Ase and animation producers Kosuke Matsunaga and Shigehiro Moriya aren't involved with Season 3. That's definitely one of the reasons behind its plight, especially considering the existence of Undead Unluck, or as I like to call it, Fire Force Season 3. Undead Unluck saw participation from Yase, Matsunaga, Moriya, and more. That's probably why it was able to reassemble most of the original Fire Force team, and that's also the reason why Season 3 couldn't, at least not yet. But wait, didn't Fire Force Season 2 also feature a different director and reduced participation from Matsunaga? Also, did it not feature the same animation producer as Season 3, Ryo Honjoya? How was it able to retain the Season 1 team? Well, to answer that, we need to look at the air dates. Season 2 aired 6 months after Season 1, meaning behind the scenes, the production was one big cycle. The team never disbanded, they just finished Season 1 and immediately moved on to Season 2 with some degree of parallel production. The team never disbanded between Seasons 1 and 2, they didn't have to reassemble, they were there to begin with. You don't finish a high-quality 2-core show, disband, reassemble, and finish another high-quality 2-core show all in the span of 6 months. Besides that, I feel like we can safely assume that the pre-production/planning phase for this season was a lot more rushed and messy compared to its predecessors because of reasons I'll get to in a bit. And because of that, it was unable to accommodate the personal schedules of many of the names I talked about. Basically, Season 3 was greenlit a long time after Season 2. Naturally, most of the team gravitated towards other projects, and due to a variety of reasons, including but not limited to Season 3 not having the same magnetic effect for talent as Season 1, more and more high-profile shows existing and competing for talent, the tighter production leading to scheduling conflicts, and talent migrating across studios and production lines, most of them didn't return. Sadly, that phenomena is all too common in modern anime. More about the schedule, I'm fairly certain that it was a lot tighter this time around. This is further corroborated by the fact that 1. The show has been split into individual cores, and 2. Departments like photography and CGI are having trouble keeping up with the already lowered ambition. It's hard to find specific information regarding the timeline, but I think that's a fairly accurate conjecture. Moving on, I think it's unfair to just focus on the negatives, of which there are a lot to be fair, but still, let's be a bit more positive. Instead of just talking about those who left, let's also talk about those who joined. Believe it or not, Season season 3 does feature a few sources of strong animation, Takeshi Morita being the main one. This is Morita's first appearance on Fire Force, but he did work on Undead Unluck, although I personally know him best for his work on My Hero Academia and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Morita has worked on 3 different Fire Force episodes so far, and for all 3, he animated fairly high quality sequences, including these insanely strong drawings of burns and the buttery smooth effects around him, this needlessly complex bit of armor animation, and this really cool sequence from the first episode. The cut that stood out to me the most from the latter is the weight distribution and volume control on Tamaki's landing. It's so consistently drawn, you can feel the weight as she pushes her body forward. Another major name would be Eito Toyoshima, another Undead Unluck and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure regular. Toyoshima has handled key animation work for 5 different episodes so far and the OP, wherein he animated a bunch of cool looking action, including this surprisingly strong climactic conclusion from episode 6. It's just a shame that the rest of that episode was a janky, inconsistent mess, more about that in a bit. Toranosuke Hori handled some solid action cuts, including this quite frankly fantastic sequence of Arthur. The movement is so dynamic and energetic, and the impact frames are gorgeous to look at, albeit a bit too over the top. He's also responsible for some incredible background animation in episode 1, which is always a plus. Ren Ogawa was in charge of these incredibly cool looking effects from episode 4, while one-off appearances from Miu Nakano and Dorian Kulo added some much needed animation muscle to some of the fights. Also worth mentioning, this incredibly well-drawn, lively, bouncy bit of character acting from episode 1, which got my hopes up for a second. It's so good. Basically, the point is, the show still has its moments. It has the occasional good-looking sequence. It's just that for the millionth time, it's no season 1 or 2. Also, the climactic episode 6 was such a mess. The animation was janky as the 3D assets were jarring, the level of ambition was low, but despite that, the execution was severely lacking. Even the aforementioned well-animated finale wasn't quite what we have grown to expect from conclusions of Fire Force fights. It was genuinely depressing to watch. Such a shame. Now, I know what you're thinking, is there any hope for the future? Well, it depends on how you define hope. If by hope you mean season 1 levels of quality, then no, there's no hope. That ship has long since sailed. I highly doubt the second core of an already compromised season will be able to recreate the borderline ideal conditions of season 1. That's not going to happen. If by hope you mean a substantial improvement in core 2, then there's a chance. At the end of the day, it depends on the number of main animators it can bring back for core 2, and I genuinely believe that number will be more than 0. Why? Delusion. In all seriousness, core 2 will have some insane stuff in it. I'm a manga reader, by the way, and I can see why the team might decide to put all their eggs in that basket, and I won't be severely offended if they do. Look, I genuinely hope they have a plan for core 2. It would be a tragedy of biblical proportions if the second core looks as underwhelming as the first one. I can't stress this enough, some of the upcoming stuff is batshit insane. I hope they can do them justice. And that's where Fire Force is at currently. It's a shadow of its former self, a shame, yes, but hey, that's the anime industry for you. That's about it. Liked the video? Check out this other bit of content on screen, like and subscribe, and until next time.